Hi, so today we're learning about the geography of ancient India, and I have provided with this set of guided notes. And on the screen, you're going to see the complete set of notes. So all you got to do is follow along with me um, and listen as I go through the notes, okay? So, ancient India is in South Asia. It's home to early civilizations. Geography allowed civilizations to grow and prosper. Mountains. The northern boundary is lined with mountain ranges. The Himalayas, which contain Mount Everest, are in the northeast. Hindu Kush Mountains are in the northwest. They formed millions of years ago, still relatively young, between 25 and 30 million years. India's mountains continue to grow several inches each year because of movement of tectonic plates. Causes earthquakes in Hindu Kush and Himalayan regions. Okay, make sure you pause and make sure you got everything. If you need to rewind, go ahead and do so. Okay, water. The southern portion of India is surrounded by two bodies of water, the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. It's very important trade routes between South Asia and the rest of the world. Both are parts of the Indian Ocean. Okay, next section, subcontinent. India is part of Asia, but is separate from the rest of the continent. Excuse me, let me try that again. India is part of Asia, but it's separate from the rest of the continent by mountains to the north and ocean to the south. This unusual separation, so geographers call it a subcontinent. Sorry, the typo there, sorry. So if you look at the graphic that I put on your notes, you can see that this is how India was formed. It's actually on a tectonic plate, and they believe over millions of years, this landmass slowly drifted across the Indian Ocean, and it slammed into Asia, creating the mountains up here, and this is why it's called a subcontinent. So, oh goodness, I fixed all my typos. Water and mountains surrounded ancient India, isolating the people who settled there and protects them from invasion. The region also had natural water sources and climate was good for farming. Okay, so let's move on to our next section of notes. Rivers and river valleys. Two large rivers flowed through ancient India from the Himalayas in the north to the Indian Ocean in the south. The two rivers of India. The Indus River begins in the Himalayas and carries melted snow, gathers water from melting snows of Hindu Kush. The water carries minerals and dirt. This created a flat area of fertile land in what is today modern Pakistan. The flat area is called an alluvial plain. Excuse me. Maybe that didn't sound right. It flows almost 1,800 miles through Pakistan and empties into the Arabian Sea near Karachi. The Ganges River also starts in the Himalayas. The rainfall and melting snow add water. It quickly drops to the plains below. It winds its way across northern part of modern-day India, flows nearly 1,560 miles, enters the Indian Ocean at the Bay of Bengal in modern-day Bangladesh. Sorry. Before that, it spreads into smaller waterways. It deposits dirt, creating a large fertile area of land called a delta. The Ganges creates an alluvial plain in northern India. Okay, promise and peril. The rich plains made in ancient India good for agriculture. It also supplied water for people, plants, and animals. It made Indian subcontinent ideal for civilizations to develop. The Indus and Ganges presented challenges to early settlers. The rivers flood regularly, which destroys crops. The unique climate of the subcontinent caused these floods. Okay, make sure you pause and go back if you need to. Okay, next section, wet and dry. South Asia's climate is very different from the rest of Asia. It has monsoon winds, which blow steadily from one direction. In another season, it blows from the opposite direction. Divides South Asia into two seasons, a warm, wet season and a cool, dry season. If you go look at the graphic that I have provided for you, you can see where the two separate monsoon seasons come from. In winter, monsoon winds blow from Central Asia into the Indian subcontinent. The Himalayas block the cold winter air. It blocks much of the rain from entering the subcontinent. The winds also carry cooler weather to South Asia. During this time, very little rain falls. During summer, the monsoon winds change directions, bringing warm, moist air from the Indian Ocean to the subcontinent. The increased moisture forms rain clouds, rain soaks most of the subcontinent, usually rains daily. Okay, planting around the monsoons. Ancient Indian farmers who lived near the Indus and Ganges had constant sources of water. People living further away depended on wet and dry seasons. Heavy summer rains provided water for crops, making agriculture possible. Farmers planted in summer months when the water was available. They harvested in the fall. If the monsoons were late, farmers and crops suffered. Even today, farmers depend on monsoon rains. Okay, moving along. Civilization in the Indus Valley. Farmers usually settled near a great river, the Indus, the Ganges, and the Sarasvati, which eventually dried up, provided farmers with steady sources of water. The flooding provided fertile soil for planting crops. Steady food supply led to surplus, which led to the development of civilizations. The first great civilization developed along the shores of the Indus and Sarasvati rivers from about 2500 to 1700 BCE. The Indus River Valley civilization had two major cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Harappa. In 1921, archaeologists first uncovered near modern-day Pakistani town of Sahiwal, rich fertile soil and monsoon climate. The agriculture was very important to them. The farmers kept sheep, goats, and cattle. They grew wheat and barley. Large amounts of grains were grown. Supply of grains played a large part in the growth of the city. At the center of Harappa was a large building for storing grain, a granary, surrounded by a protective wall, a citadel. The city was laid out in a grid around the granary. This suggests that government controlled how grain was stored, protected, and handed out. Okay, Mohenjo-daro. Located in modern-day Pakistan, was the largest city in the Indus Valley civilization, one of the most advanced cities ever discovered, constructed similar to Harappa. The city itself was divided into two parts, a religious and administrative center, similar to modern downtown. They had government buildings, religious sites, and places to gather, and was protected by a citadel. The lower city was used for housing. The city also had a large granary, a large water pool they think was for religious reasons. A lower city had small one-room houses and large multiple-story dwellings with courtyards and bathrooms, suggesting there was a middle and lower class. Widespread water storage and drainage systems. It became a very advanced society. They traded for resources. The nearby Hindu Kush mountains were rich in precious metals and gems. They traded these for Sumerian wool, grains, and olive oil. The objects found in ruins suggested trade with Mesopotamia. Okay, almost done. So life in India's major cities. Civilizations that existed from 2500 to 1700 BCE were complex. They had a written language and well-developed trade. They had advanced knowledge of math, large supplies of grain. They had free time for things like playing games. The best-known historical objects are square seals found in Mohenjo-daro, images of real and mythical animals, and writing. Advances in math. Invented the place value. Advanced in geometry, which helped them design their cities. They used the same system of weights and measures for trade. By 1900 BCE, the Indus River civilization began to weaken. The forests had been cut down, destroying soil along the river. The area became a desert, which meant less food, so people began to leave the cities. The floods also harmed the region. In 1500 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro was raided and destroyed. The mix of floods and desertification contributed to the downfall. Okay, and last thing is a summary. The geography and climate of the Indian subcontinent had made it possible for it to grow and do well. The landforms that separate the subcontinent from the rest of Asia were a natural defense against other civilizations. The rivers and monsoons made agriculture possible. Okay, make sure you have everything filled out. Okay, and now you're going to be able to finish this module, make sure all your assignments are handed in, and then you're going to pull out your study guide and answer questions 1 through 19 using your notes. Again, please come to the help desk if you need my assistance. Good job!